Hi, random thought or random idea. We all know at least one language. If you're listening to my video, you can obviously understand English. But what if there's a hidden language that all of us should know, or at least be familiar with, and yet it's been lost to time, or we don't focus on it, or we don't study it? And that is the language of symbolism. And when I say that, I was thinking before of dreams. We all have dreams, and different people have different types of dreams, and not everyone has the same type of dream, and sometimes people have different types of dreams every night, or different combination. Some of them are weird, some of them are really, really weird, some of them are a bit woo-woo, some of them are a bit more normal but doing strange things, or suddenly things just change with no real transition. You're suddenly in one place, then you're suddenly in another place, and it all makes sense. But in our dreams, sometimes it's like an adventure or a journey or an experience, and then other times it's like there's something there, and the dream doesn't make sense, but the dream might be there for us to take some meaning out of, or take some learning, or to learn a lesson, or to take some concept or idea, or put two and two together and think, maybe this is what I'm really thinking, or what I need to experience, or I need to learn from this scenario. And the way that things are conveyed to us in those dreams is often in a way that we experience the story, or we experience the dream, and we might remember bits of it, and then we try and think about it later, and it doesn't really make sense. And we try and think about it from a very physical reality point of view, and it just doesn't work so well in our heads. But maybe we should stop thinking about our dreams in a very physical, traditional way, and instead interpret them, the ones that are really confusing and strange to us. Maybe we should try and take the symbolism out of it, extract the symbolism, and try and make something of it, and try and understand what might be being conveyed to us to help us in some way, or to aid us in understanding something. And I just think, if there was a version of us here in this physical reality, and there was another version of us somewhere else in a totally different type of reality, where we didn't have the English language, and we didn't have our ways of thoughts and communication, but we still wanted to get a message across to another version of ourselves. We wanted to communicate to this version of us here, or maybe our soul wants to tell us something, or maybe God wants to tell us something, or maybe if there's a message there, how would you communicate that? And without using English, or a language that you're familiar with, there could be different ways of communicating it, and one of them is through symbolism. And so you might be shown perhaps certain things in your dreams, which when you wake up don't really make any sense at all. But if you put those things together, and then reflect on it, and then think of it from a different perspective in some way, maybe you can extract some meaning out of it, and maybe it can help you in some way. And sometimes it may be very obvious and very literal, very, very clear what the dream might actually mean. Sometimes someone might be pointing to a clock, or pointing to a calendar, and then you see that particular time, or you see that particular date, and you think, something's going to happen on that date, and it really sticks in your memory. But it's not communicated verbally through words, but the symbolism is really clear and obvious at that point that, it's pointing to a particular time or pointing to a particular date. But sometimes the symbolism can be a lot more abstract, and so you have to really sort of think about what those things could mean, thinking through other things that you already know and trying to interpret it in a different way. And to some extent, I feel like a lot of the Mandela effects that people experience are this form of communication. People wonder, they go, oh, this has changed, that's changed, this, and then eventually they might start questioning, why did that change? And then they look at it and they say, that's evil, this is horrible, everything's bad, it's all gone worse. But that's all relative. Different people have different perspectives of what's evil, what's bad, and what seems bad for you might not seem bad for everyone. And so these changes that are taking place may not necessarily be life-threatening or be the end of the world, but they may be another example of, if you can extract the symbolism from it, you may be able to learn something. And so someone in a chat in a video that I was watching said, the Star Wars C-3PO character, who I'm not really super familiar with. Some people say the whole fellow was always gold. A couple of people out there say he was always completely silver. Some people say he was, he had a silver leg, and now for a lot of people, he's gold with a silver leg, whereas before he was all gold. And so someone was like, well, maybe that means something about, we shouldn't look to the golden leg, or I don't really know anything about Christianity, but apparently that has some sort of golden leg or golden calf has some sort of Christian meaning in the Bible or something. So for some people that particular change may induce a certain kind of meaning that they can extract from that. And when you look at it, a lot of the Mandela effects have this kind of meaning that maybe not everyone will see straight away, but all the big ones seem to have some sort of correlation, some sort of meaning if you extract, or if you think about it in a certain way, you're like, oh, of course, that makes sense. That would explain why that changed. It's it's not the physical change or the wording change or the visual change that itself is important, but more what's the meaning there? What's the thing that we can gain from that idea, that concept, that thought, and perhaps it's conveyed in this symbolism way. So what if there is this language there, and we haven't really been, it's a language that we could all learn and improve on, and maybe it's built into us, but we've just kind of ignored it. And the language of symbolism, what if it's something important? If we could improve our ability to interpret or understand symbolism, it may help us to understand things in a much clearer way, because some communications out there may you may gain something from that, whether you interpret that to be a good thing or bad thing, or just a learning experience or whatever. That's up to you how you want to frame it, but maybe it's maybe if we did learn this language of symbolism, we could take something from that. And I've always been sort of interested in languages throughout my life, even though I haven't really studied many. I always found languages fascinating, and I used to just play with words and mess with words in my head when I was a child, and I was always quite good at English in primary school, and at the beginning of high school as well. I just sort of had like a reasonable grasp of English. I didn't really like learn it very well in high school, but somehow I sort of stumbled my way through it, and it just, I don't know, somehow my English improved eventually, even though the teachers didn't really teach us anything properly in high school in terms of English. They just go, here you go, just do these assignments. Anyway, I'm getting distracted. So language has always sort of fascinated me a little bit, and every language has got different elements to it, but spoken languages all have a lot of commonalities between them. They're all different, but there's a lot of spoken and written languages have, none of them are unique. They all have certain properties, and English has this set of properties, and then German has that set of properties, and French has that sort of properties, and French and English are like, they share a lot of properties together that are similar, and German and English are like similar, and then Chinese is like completely different in some ways, like completely different, but then there's other properties of Chinese that's like exactly the same properties as that in English, and you'd think the two languages would be so alien to each other, so completely different, that everything, like 100% of it, would be completely different. But like Chinese has, it has grammar rules, which are very, the simple parts of the grammar are very simple for us to understand. And it has, I could go on and on. It has a lot of different sort of language rules about phrasing things in certain ways, and different sort of concepts and ideas. Nouns, it has heaps and heaps of nouns, for example. So, yeah, what am I trying to say here? So those are the things we've always traditionally focused on, is like the spoken languages and the written languages. But maybe there's that hidden language there that we've either chosen to ignore, or over time it's just been lost to us, and we've stopped. Like maybe we used to teach it to children, and then we just stopped. Or maybe it's been, maybe it's something that some evil entity has like stopped us from learning, has prevented us from learning by inundating us with other things all the time. But maybe it would be worth exploring, just learning a bit of symbolism as a language and like a communication tool. At least if we can't at least speak in symbolism, maybe we can at least listen in symbolism and hear the things that are being spoken to us, and whether we choose to use that or not is up to us. Whether we choose to accept it or not is up to us. But at least if we hear it, then we can maybe we can at least hear it, because otherwise it could just be being spoken to us all the time, and we're just ignoring it. We're just throwing it away, or we're confused about it, and we don't know how, or we don't know why it's there. When actually, if we opened our ears, so to speak, and we started listening, maybe we could go, that's what that is. Oh, now it all makes sense. And like a lot of us are trying to find answers to things, so we want to find out more about the world, and so maybe that's an important thing, or something at least trying to look into. And besides the language of symbolism, another thought came to me just before. That was in dreams, as well, speaking in symbolism. Some people have mentioned that in dreams they are communicated with, like either telepathically in a dream, or they just have a knowing, and like for example, they'll see someone in a dream, and then they'll see a certain situation, and that person they'll just look a certain way, and then the person in the dream will know what that means, or they'll telepathically like understand what that means. So that's like a different form of communication as well that might exist. But yeah, the focus of this video is more like for symbolism. And I'm planning to title this video the Sym Link. And I've come up with that title because in computers, in the whole technology space, we all have to learn computer stuff at some point in our lives. There's this a lot of people don't know this particular thing, but there's this concept in computer land called a symbolic link. And the idea with a symbolic link is that you can have like a folder full of files, for example. So you've got this folder and you've got all your documents in it, and then you can have another folder which is in a completely different place, and it's not a real folder. It's what's called a symbolic link. And the great thing about it is that you can be in another place, like on a different part of your computer, or you can be on maybe a different computer entirely, and that folder will look like a normal folder. And when you go into it, it'll have all your files, but it's like a copy of your files. So your files are actually somewhere else on your original computer in its original location, but then you've got this separate folder which is like another copy of those files, but it's not a duplicate copy. It's not like someone's gone copy and paste all those files and they've dragged them over there. It's a symbolic representation of those files. They are linked magically together behind the scenes. And so what happens is if you make changes to a file in that other computer or in that other place, and then you save it, it'll save there, but it'll also change in the original location at the same time instantly. So like the two files are in two different locations at the same time. You've got this bi-location effect going on, and yeah, you can have these folders which have all these files in them, and they can be linked across different computers or different drives or networks or whatever. And if you make changes to one, the other one will instantly reflect. And it's not that you've actually got two copies of the file. There's only actually one file ever. There's only that one file, that one folder full of those files. But all the other copies are just pretend little shortcuts that behind the scenes say, if you want this file, go over there, and the computer will like do this magical thing where it will just pretend that folder exists or pretend that file exists, and from your point of view, it looks like it's a separate copy, but behind the scenes, if you make changes in one place, it changes the original. And when you view the copy, which is not a copy, when you view the symbolic link, you're actually viewing the data from the original. So I'm not really sure where I'm going with this, but maybe it'll be useful for someone. But there is this concept of a symbolic link, and its nickname is a Sym Link, and maybe that sort of thing happens in the universe as well, where you've got something in one place and you've also got it in another place, and it can be in multiple locations at one time, but really there's only one original version of the data. But if you change it once, it will also change instantaneously everywhere else at the same time. And this idea is it's a computer thing. It's a very well sort of structured, well formed computer thing, but interestingly it also exists in science. So science, like quantum physics, actually tells us that this phenomenon literally exists in the universe. Quantum physics literally says that if you have two particles that are entangled together in a superposition of states, or whatever they call it, then you literally have two particles where they may appear as two particles, as far as science is concerned. But if you change one, the other one will change instantaneously at the same time, no matter where it is in the universe. So if you had this one little tiny particle, and then you go, oh, I'm just going to flick you over there. I'm just going to, spin you from left to right, and you flick it, and then it spins. Then the other copy of it on the other side of the universe will also spin at the same time, magically, just like out of nowhere. And so you get this kind of like magical effect where all of a sudden things just kind of happen, seemingly randomly, but it could be because an effect has been produced on the other side of the universe, and that effect has then caused that copy, what it's linked to happen at the same time to the other one. If that makes sense. I'm saying this all on the fly, so I hope you don't get too confused. Some of you may have looked into the science already in the quantum physics, but yeah, there is this idea of entangled particles in quantum physics, and it's a very well established idea. It's been proven true according to the scientists, and they have been trying to make larger and larger copies of things in a quantum entangled state. And so they haven't got something the size of an apple yet, but they've got something that's like smaller than a bacteria, like something like really microscopic. But from a science physics perspective, it's huge. Like they've got like thousands of atoms, and they've entangled them all together. And so if you screw up this one set of atoms, then the other entangled part, which is like in another laboratory on the other side of the country, will also get screwed up at the same time. So that's really interesting. And so that this symbolic link, this Sym Link idea already exists in science, but maybe it exists in other ways in the universe, and maybe it has some sort of like spiritual or like energetic or some other things that we haven't been thinking about. Maybe we could take this idea and use it in some other ways. Like maybe it's like you say, we're all kind of like connected. We're all connected together. Maybe we literally are all connected together. Maybe part of you is in part of me, and part of me is in part of that person. Like maybe we are all different pieces put together into one body, and I might be like 1,000 pieces, but one of those 1,000 pieces in there may be the same piece that's one of your 1,000 pieces. And so if I change that piece in me, I'm changing that piece in you at the same time. And so maybe we're entangled together. Like that's an interesting thought. So like if I gave myself energy in one way, could it also like affect your energy at the same time? And so I just came across this video this afternoon where people were complaining about really sore bodies and feeling physical pain lately. And what they described was some of the symptoms of what I had expected to feel over the last couple of weeks when I injured myself. And I haven't been feeling too badly, but I have been experiencing certain soreness and pain. But like the thought just randomly came to me. I'm like, you guys, you're experiencing this pain that I wouldn't expect you guys to experience, but I would expect myself to experience it. But for them, it's almost like it's unexplained. It came out of nowhere. It's almost like phantom pain. But it makes me wonder, like, did I cause that injury to myself that caused pain? But the pain was distributed, and it was distributed across multiple people, across multiple bodies. Am I connected to them, and did they feel my pain, like literally feel my pain? Instead of me feeling all the pain, did it kind of get distributed evenly, and some people felt a little bit of this, and some people felt a little bit of that? And so should we all be like really careful not to hurt ourselves, because we might also be hurting others at the same time by hurting ourselves, or by hurting others we may be hurting ourselves. That's interesting. There you go. That's my thoughts for today.